One small fire kept the whole house alive. But where did all the smoke go? If you are listening at night, tell me where you are and what time it is. Welcome to Dreamy Old Stories, where we share slow and gentle stories from history. These stories are made to calm your mind and help you fall asleep. As the story continues, the pace stays slow and calm. There is no hurry, only the quiet passing of time. You can listen closely, or let the sound fade as the night moves gently forward. Evening begins to approach the village in a slow and quiet way. Outside, the sun has lowered enough that the light entering the doorway no longer reaches deep into the room. Instead, it falls softly across the threshold and fades quickly into the dim interior. Inside the house, the air feels slightly cooler than it did earlier in the afternoon. The fire in the hearth is stirred again. A few pieces of dry wood are placed carefully onto the glowing embers. For a moment, the wood sits quietly among the coals, and then thin flames begin to rise along its edges. The fire grows slowly stronger. Warm light begins to move across the room once again. The glow touches the table first, then the bench beside the wall, and finally reaches the darker corners where shadows have begun to gather. The hearth returns to its familiar place as the center of the home. As evening approaches, the fire becomes more important again. It brings warmth, light, and the quiet comfort that fills the house when the day begins to end. Above the flames, the clay pot remains hanging from its hook. The food inside has continued to cook through the afternoon. Now the pot is lifted slightly and shifted closer to the stronger heat. The liquid inside begins to move more actively again. Small bubbles rise from the bottom, and the vegetables turn slowly through the warm broth. The wooden spoon is lifted once more. It moves through the pot with calm circles, stirring the contents so they heat evenly. The spoon touches the clay sides with a soft sound before resting again beside the hearth. The smell drifting from the pot becomes a little stronger now. Warm vegetables and broth mix with the scent of fresh smoke rising from the newly burning wood. These smells fill the room in a quiet and comforting way. Nearby, the table begins to prepare for its next use. A wooden bowl is placed gently on its surface. Then another joins it. The bowls are simple and worn from many meals, their surfaces polished smooth by years of careful cleaning. The table feels ready for the evening meal. The bench along the wall no longer sits empty. Someone may rest there now, warming hands near the fire after time spent outside during the afternoon. The wood of the bench reflects the firelight softly, showing its smooth and slightly curved surface. The stool near the hearth remains close to the warmth. Its uneven leg still presses into the small hollow in the floor. When someone sits on it, the stool leans gently, though it remains steady enough for its purpose. These small imperfections are simply part of the house. Along the wall, the chest remains closed for the moment. Later, as the air grows cooler, its lid may be lifted to remove thicker clothing. But for now, the chest keeps its quiet watch beside the wall. Above it, the dried herbs continue to hang from their string. The firelight reaches them now, causing their thin leaves to cast small moving shadows across the wall. The scent of the herbs grows slightly stronger in the warmer air. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain still rests against the wall. Soon another small portion will be taken from it to prepare more food. The cloth surface shows faint folds where the grain inside presses outward. Beside it, the wooden bucket remains filled with water drawn earlier. The firelight touches the surface of the water, creating small golden reflections that tremble gently when the air moves. The bucket stands quietly, ready for whatever task comes next. The broom remains leaning against the wall, waiting for the evening sweeping that often happens before night fully arrives. Straw and dust gathered during the day will soon be brushed away again. Above the room, the dark beams stretch calmly across the ceiling. The firelight now replaces the fading daylight, and the beams glow faintly where the flames reach them. The marks left by tools long ago appear and disappear as the shadows shift. Above the beams, the thatched roof continues its quiet work. The straw rests beneath the cooling sky outside. When the evening breeze passes across it, the straw whispers softly against itself. Inside the house, the sounds of the village begin to change. The louder noises of daytime work grow quieter. Footsteps pass along the road as people return home. Distant voices drift through the air and fade again. The small house remains calm and steady. The fire burns gently in the hearth. The pot warms above the flames, and the familiar shapes of the table, bench, stool, and chest gather quietly around the warm glow as evening slowly settles over the medieval home. The evening continues to settle around the small house. Outside, the sun has dropped lower behind the distant trees and rooftops. The light that once entered through the doorway has become softer and weaker, leaving the fire in the hearth as the main source of warmth and light inside the room. The flames now move steadily across the pieces of wood placed earlier. They rise and fall slowly, casting gentle shadows that stretch along the walls and beams. These shadows move quietly across the surfaces of the room, shifting each time the fire changes its shape. The hearth glows with a comfortable warmth. Its light touches the clay pot hanging above the flames. The pot has been stirred again, and the food inside now moves slowly with a thicker rhythm. Small bubbles rise from the bottom of the pot and break softly on the surface. The wooden spoon is lifted once more. It circles slowly through the warm broth, guiding the vegetables and grain through the heat. The spoon taps lightly against the side of the pot before it returns to its place beside the hearth. The smell drifting through the house has grown deeper now. Warm food, with smoke, and the faint scent of herbs hanging on the wall blend together in the air. These smells feel familiar and steady, part of the quiet comfort of the evening. Near the hearth, the table now holds the bowls that were placed there earlier. The bowls sit side by side, ready for the evening meal. Their surfaces reflect a soft glow from the firelight, revealing the smooth marks left by many years of use. The table itself remains strong and steady. Its thick boards show the long history of the household that has gathered around it for meals day after day. The bench beside the wall is no longer empty. It may now hold someone resting quietly while waiting for the meal to be ready. The firelight touches the bench gently, showing the smooth curve of the wood where countless people have sat before. The warmth from the hearth reaches the bench easily. It spreads through the room, filling the quiet space with a steady comfort. The stool near the hearth continues its familiar lean. When someone sits upon it, the stool tilts slightly before settling into the hollow formed by the floor over many years. This small movement has become a natural part of the stool's place beside the fire. Along the wall, the wooden chest still rests closed. Its surface catches the flickering light from the flames. The iron hinges appear dark against the wood, strong and silent. Inside the chest, folded clothing remains ready for the cooler hours of the night. Above the chest, the dried herbs continue to hang quietly. The firelight causes their thin leaves to cast soft shadows across the wall behind them. The herbs move gently when warm air from the hearth drifts upward. Their scent remains faint but steady. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain rests where it has been all day. Soon another handful may be taken from it to add to the meal. The cloth sack holds its shape quietly, leaning against the wall. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds its supply of water. The firelight reflects across the surface of the water, forming small golden ripples that move whenever the air shifts. The bucket remains still, waiting for the next task. The broom remains leaning against the wall, though its moment will soon come. Before night fully settles, the floor will be swept once more. Small pieces of straw and dust will be gathered and pushed aside in slow, quiet strokes. Above the room, the beams stretch calmly across the ceiling. The firelight reaches them now, making their rough shapes appear and disappear as the flames flicker below. Each beam carries the marks of tools that shaped the wood long ago. These marks remain clear even after many years. Above the beams, the thick thatched roof rests beneath the cooling evening sky. A gentle wind moves across the straw outside, creating a faint rustling sound that drifts softly into the room below. Through the doorway, the sounds of the village have grown quieter. Carts have stopped moving along the road. The steady noises of daytime work have faded. Only distant voices and the occasional animal sound travel through the evening air. Inside the house, the calm rhythm of the evening continues. The fire burns warmly. The pot prepares the meal above the flames. The table waits with its bowls, and the small medieval home gathers its quiet comfort as the day slowly moves toward night. Evening has now settled fully over the village. Inside the small house, the fire has grown into the brightest light in the room. The last of the daylight has faded from the doorway, leaving only a faint gray hint outside. The flames in the hearth move steadily. They curl around the wood with a soft, patient motion. Each piece of wood slowly darkens and cracks as the heat reaches deeper into it. The fire gives off a warm glow that spreads across the floor and walls. Above the flames, the clay pot continues its slow cooking. The food inside has thickened during the long hours over the hearth. When the pot is stirred, the liquid moves slowly and heavily around the vegetables and grain. The wooden spoon moves through the pot once more. It circles gently, lifting and turning the contents so the warmth spreads evenly. After a few quiet moments, the spoon rests again beside the hearth. The smell drifting through the house has become rich and steady. Warm broth, soft vegetables, and the familiar scent of wood smoke blend together in the air. These smells mark the quiet arrival of the evening meal. The table near the fire now holds the wooden bowls prepared earlier. They rest patiently on the thick boards of the table. The firelight reflects softly on their smooth surfaces. Soon the pot will be lifted slightly and the meal will be served. The bench along the wall holds its quiet place beside the table. The warmth from the hearth reaches it easily now. The bench has carried many people through many evenings like this one. Its wood has grown smooth and slightly curved from years of use. The stool near the hearth remains in its familiar place. When someone sits there, the stool tilts slightly before settling into the small hollow shaped by the floor. The movement is gentle and expected. Nothing inside the house feels unfamiliar. Along the wall, the chest remains closed. The firelight reaches its surface, revealing faint scratches left by hands and tools over many years. The iron hinges remain strong and silent. Inside the chest, folded clothing waits for the cooler hours of night. Above the chest, the dried herbs still hang quietly from their string. Their thin leaves move gently whenever warm air rises from the hearth. Small shadows from the herbs shift slowly along the wall. The scent they release is light but comforting. Near the corner of the room, The sack of grain rests against the wall. Its cloth surface shows small folds where grain presses from inside. The sack remains tied carefully at the top. Beside it, the wooden bucket stands filled with water. The surface of the water reflects the firelight in small golden waves that move slowly across the bucket's interior. The bucket waits quietly until water is needed again. The broom has now been lifted from the wall. With slow strokes, the floor is swept before the evening meal begins. Straw and dust gathered through the day move across the earth floor in gentle lines. The sweeping sound is soft and steady. When the work is finished, the broom returns to its resting place. The floor appears a little tidier once more. Above the room, the dark beams stretch across the ceiling. The firelight reaches them in moving patterns. Shadows slide slowly between the beams each time the flames shift below. These beams have watched countless evenings pass beneath them. Above them, the thick thatched roof rests beneath the darkening sky. The straw holds the warmth of the house while keeping the cool night air outside. A faint wind moves across the roof, producing a quiet rustling sound. Through the doorway, the village has grown mostly silent. A distant voice may still drift across the road, but the busy sounds of the day have ended. Inside the house, the calm remains steady. The fire glows warmly. The meal waits in the pot. The table, bench, stool, and chest stand in their familiar places. And the small medieval home settles into the peaceful rhythm of evening, where warmth, quiet voices, and the soft glow of the hearth gently carry the day toward night. Night has now settled over the village. Outside, the sky has deepened into a quiet darkness. The last light of evening has disappeared behind the fields and distant trees. Only the moon and scattered stars now rest above the rooftops. Inside the small house, the fire continues to glow steadily in the hearth. The flames are not large, but they are strong enough to fill the room with a warm and gentle light. The glow moves across the walls, the table, and the beams above, creating soft shadows that slowly shift with every movement of the fire. The hearth becomes the center of the room once again. Nearly everything inside the house gathers around it during the night. The warmth it provides is steady and comforting as the cool air outside grows stronger. Above the fire, the clay pot is lifted carefully from the hook. The evening meal has finished cooking after many hours above the flames. The thick stew inside moves slowly as the pot is lowered toward the table. The wooden spoon is lifted and used to fill the waiting bowls. One by one, the bowls receive their share of the warm food. Steam rises gently from the surface, drifting upward into the dim air of the room. The table now holds the evening meal. The bowls rest on the thick wooden boards, their smooth surfaces reflecting the glow of the fire. The smell of warm stew fills the house. It carries the scent of vegetables, grain, and herbs gathered from nearby fields and gardens. The bench beside the table now holds quiet company. Someone sits there, leaning slightly forward while holding a warm bowl in both hands. The warmth of the food and the fire spreads slowly through the body after a long day. The stool near the hearth is also used. When someone sits upon it, the stool tilts gently before settling into the shallow hollow in the earth floor. The movement is small and familiar. Nothing about it feels unusual. Meals inside a medieval home are often quiet. Voices remain soft, and conversation moves slowly. The day has been long, and the warmth of the fire encourages calm rather than noise. The spoon touches the bowl with small quiet sounds. Each movement is simple and unhurried. The fire continues to burn with steady patience. Flames move across the wood in slow waves. From time to time, a small crack echoes softly through the room as the burning wood shifts. Above the hearth, smoke drifts upward toward the beams. It moves through the dark wood before finding its way through the thatched roof. This path has been followed by smoke every night for many years. The beams have grown dark from this constant rise of smoke. Yet they remain strong and steady. The table becomes a quiet gathering place during this hour. The bowls slowly empty as the meal continues. The warmth of the stew spreads through the room, mixing with the scent of smoke and the faint smell of herbs hanging along the wall. The bench remains steady beneath its quiet weight. The wood creaks softly from time to time, though the sound is gentle and familiar. The stool near the hearth holds its place as well. Its slight tilt has become part of its character, something no one inside the house finds surprising. Along the wall, the chest remains closed for now. The clothing inside waits until later in the night when the air grows cooler. For the moment, the warmth from the hearth keeps the room comfortable. Above the chest, the dried herbs still hang from their string. Their thin leaves catch the firelight, casting faint shadows against the wall behind them. Their scent drifts slowly through the warm air. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain continues to rest against the wall. Its cloth surface shows the gentle shapes formed by the grain inside. It remains tied carefully at the top, protecting the household's supply of food. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds water drawn earlier in the day. The firelight reflects across the surface in small moving shapes. The bucket waits quietly for the next time water will be needed. The broom rests once more against the wall. The floor has already been swept for the evening. Straw and dust have been moved aside, leaving the earth floor calm and tidy again. Above the room, the wooden beams stretch silently across the ceiling. The firelight reaches them now, causing the rough shapes of the wood to appear and disappear as the flames shift below. Above them, the thick thatched roof holds the warmth of the house. Outside, the night wind moves gently across the straw, creating a faint rustling sound. Inside the house, the meal continues quietly. The fire glows steadily. The bowls rest on the table, and the small medieval home gathers its warmth and calm around the hearth as the peaceful night begins to unfold. The evening meal continues in the quiet warmth of the house. The bowls on the table grow lighter as the warm stew is slowly eaten. Steam still rises faintly from the surface of the food, though it fades as the meal goes on. The fire in the hearth burns steadily beside the table. Its flames are calm and patient, reaching slowly around the wood that was placed there earlier. Each movement of the fire sends new shadows across the walls. These shadows move across the beams above, stretching and shrinking as the flames change shape. The room feels smaller at night, though the walls have not moved. The darkness beyond the firelight gathers gently in the corners, making the warm center of the room feel even more sheltered. The table remains the quiet center of the evening meal. The thick wooden boards hold the bowls and the wooden spoon resting nearby. Small marks on the surface of the table catch the firelight for a moment before fading again into shadow. Meals in a house like this are rarely rushed. Each spoonful is taken slowly. The warmth of the food spreads through the body after the long hours of work during the day. The bench beside the wall remains steady beneath its quiet weight. The wood creaks softly now and then, though the sound is familiar and gentle. This bench has carried many people through many evenings like this one. Its surface has grown smooth over the years where clothing and hands have brushed against it again and again. The stool near the hearth continues to lean slightly as someone sits upon it. Its uneven leg presses into the shallow hollow in the earth floor. The stool tilts gently but never enough to feel unsafe. This small movement has become a natural part of the stool's place beside the fire. Above the hearth, the clay pot now rests slightly away from the strongest heat. Most of the meal has been served, but a small portion remains inside. The pot holds its warmth quietly, ready in case someone wishes for another bowl. The wooden spoon rests beside it. Its handle glows softly in the firelight, showing the smooth shine created by many years of use. The smell inside the house remains warm and comforting. The scent of stew mixes with the familiar smell of wood smoke. The herbs hanging along the wall add their faint fragrance to the air. Together these scents create a feeling of calm that fills the small room. Along the wall, the wooden chest remains closed. Its surface reflects a dull glow from the firelight. The iron hinges appear dark and quiet against the wood. Inside the chest, folded clothing waits for the cooler hours that will come later in the night. Above the chest, the dried herbs sway slightly when warm air rises from the hearth. Their thin leaves brush gently against one another. The small sound is soft enough to be nearly unnoticed. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain remains in its familiar place. Its cloth surface shows the shapes of the grain inside, forming quiet curves against the wall. The sack has provided food for many meals already, and it will continue to do so in the days ahead. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds clear water. The firelight reflects across the surface in soft, moving shapes. When someone walks past the bucket, the water trembles slightly before becoming still again. The broom rests quietly against the wall once more. Its work for the evening has already been done. The floor remains calm and tidy beneath the soft glow of the hearth. Above the room, the dark wooden beams stretch across the ceiling. The firelight moves across them slowly, revealing the rough grain of the wood and the old marks left by the tools that shaped them. These beams have watched countless evenings pass in this same quiet way. Above them, the thatched roof continues its silent protection. The thick straw holds the warmth of the house while keeping the cool night air outside. Occasionally, the wind moves across the roof, creating a soft rustling sound. Through the doorway, the village outside has grown mostly silent. The road that carried footsteps and carts during the day now rests quietly beneath the night sky. Only the faintest distant sounds travel through the cool air. Inside the house, the meal slowly comes to an end. The bowls rest nearly empty on the table. The fire continues its steady glow, and the small medieval home settles deeper into the calm and warmth of the quiet night. The evening meal slowly comes to its quiet end. The bowls on the table now sit mostly empty. Only a small amount of broth remains at the bottom of some of them, reflecting the warm glow from the fire nearby. The wooden spoon rests across the edge of the clay pot. The pot itself has been moved slightly away from the strongest heat of the hearth. Inside, a small portion of the meal remains, kept warm in case it is needed later in the night. The fire continues to burn steadily. The flames are smaller now, though the embers beneath them glow brightly. Their orange light spreads across the floor and walls, filling the room with a calm warmth. The table has begun to grow quiet again. One by one, the bowls are lifted and carried away from its surface. They are wiped clean with cloth or straw and returned to the shelf along the wall. Soon the table stands empty once more. The thick wooden boards remain warm from the nearby fire. The small scratches and marks across its surface catch the firelight before fading back into shadow. The bench beside the wall rests quietly after the meal. Its smooth wood reflects the soft light from the hearth. The warmth from the fire reaches it easily, making the seat comfortable even as the night air grows cooler outside. The stool near the hearth remains close to the fire. Its slight tilt continues to be part of its familiar shape. When someone rises from it, the stool rocks gently before settling again into the hollow formed by the floor over many years. Along the wall, the chest remains closed for now. The firelight touches its wooden surface, revealing faint lines and small marks left by years of use. Inside the chest, folded clothing waits for the moment when the night air becomes colder. Above the chest, the dried herbs continue to hang quietly. The thin leaves cast small moving shadows as the firelight flickers across the wall. Their gentle scent remains present in the warm air of the house. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain continues to lean against the wall. Its cloth surface shows the steady shape of the grain inside. The knot at the top remains tied carefully, keeping the food safe for future meals. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds water. The surface of the water reflects the glow of the fire in slow-moving patterns. When the air shifts gently through the room, small ripples move across the bucket before fading again. The broom remains resting against the wall. The floor has already been swept for the night. The straw scattered across the packed earth lies in calm patterns that will remain until morning. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in deep shadow. The firelight reaches them only faintly now, revealing the rough surfaces of the wood for brief moments before darkness returns. These beams have watched many nights pass in this same quiet way. Above them, the thatched roof rests beneath the dark sky. Outside, the wind moves gently across the straw. The soft rustling sound travels faintly through the roof and down into the room. The door remains closed now, keeping the warmth of the house safely inside. Beyond the walls, the village sleeps quietly beneath the night. Inside the house, the calm remains steady. The fire glows with a gentle warmth. The table stands empty again. The bench, stool, chest, and shelf hold their familiar places around the room. And the small medieval home settles into the peaceful stillness of night, where the slow glow of the hearth and the quiet breathing of the house carry the evening gently towards sleep. Night has grown deeper around the village. Outside the small house, the sky is dark and quiet. The moon has climbed higher above the fields, casting a pale light across the rooftops and narrow paths that wind between the homes. Inside the house, the fire in the hearth still burns. The flames are smaller now than they were earlier in the evening, but the embers glow brightly beneath the wood. Their orange light spreads across the room in slow-moving patterns. The hearth remains the warm heart of the house. Its gentle heat fills the air while the cool night settles outside the walls. The clay pot has been moved away from the strongest heat. It rests near the edge of the hearth where the warmth is softer. Inside the pot, the last portion of the evening meal remains warm. The wooden spoon lies across the top. The spoon has been used many times during the day, and now it rests quietly after its work is finished. Nearby, the table stands empty once more. The bowls that held the meal have already been cleaned and returned to the shelf along the wall. The thick wooden boards of the table reflect the faint glow of the firelight. The marks left by years of use appear and disappear as the light shifts. The table has returned to its quiet stillness. The bench beside the wall remains close to the warmth of the hearth. Its surface holds the faint heat from the nearby fire. The smooth wood shows the gentle shine created by many years of use. Sometimes during the night someone may sit there briefly before sleep. But for now the bench rests quietly. The stool near the hearth remains in its familiar place. Its uneven leg presses gently into the small hollow in the earth floor. The stool tilts slightly, though it remains steady beside the fire. This small tilt has become part of the house itself. Along the wall, the wooden chest now opens slowly. Its heavy lid lifts with a soft wooden sound. From inside, thicker garments are taken out for the night. The air has grown cooler, and warm clothing is welcome as the fire slowly burns lower. Once the clothing is removed, the chest closes again. The iron hinges hold the lid firmly in place. Above the chest, the bundle of dried herbs continues to hang quietly. The firelight touches the leaves, causing their thin shapes to cast faint shadows across the wall. The scent of the herbs remains gentle but steady in the warm air of the room. Near the corner, the sack of grain rests against the wall. The cloth surface has settled slightly during the day, though the knot at the top remains tight. The sack holds enough grain for many more meals in the days ahead. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds water drawn earlier. The firelight reflects across the surface in soft golden movements. Occasionally, the water trembles slightly when someone walks across the floor nearby. The broom remains leaning against the wall where it was placed earlier. Its twigs spread outward at the bottom from years of sweeping. The floor beneath it remains calm and tidy after the evening cleaning. Above the room, the wooden beams stretch across the ceiling in dark shapes. The firelight reaches them only faintly now, revealing small details in the wood for brief moments before shadow returns. These beams have watched countless nights unfold in this same quiet way. Above them, the thatched roof rests beneath the cool night sky. The thick straw holds the warmth of the house while keeping the night air outside. A light breeze moves across the roof, creating a soft rustling sound that drifts gently down through the house. The door remains closed against the night. Beyond it, the village lies mostly silent. Only the distant sound of a dog or the quiet movement of animals may travel through the darkness. Inside the house, the calm continues. The fire glows steadily in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, and chest remain in their familiar places, and the small medieval home settles deeper into the quiet hours of the night, where the slow warmth of the fire and the steady stillness of the room guide the household gently toward rest. The night grows quieter around the small house. Outside, the village rests beneath the dark sky. The narrow road that carried voices and footsteps during the day now lies still. Only the soft light of the moon touches the rooftops and fences. Inside the house, the fire continues its slow burning. The flames have grown smaller than before. Most of the wood has turned into glowing embers that shine with a deep orange color beneath a layer of ash. The embers give off a steady warmth. Their light moves gently across the room, touching the table and the nearby bench before fading into the darker corners. Above the hearth, the clay pot remains near the edge of the heat. The small portion of food left inside has cooled slightly, though the pot still holds a faint warmth. The wooden spoon rests across its top, quiet and still. The spoon has completed its work for the day. Nearby, the table remains empty. The bowls that once rested there during the evening meal now sit quietly on the shelf along the wall. The surface of the table shows faint reflections from the firelight. Small scratches in the wood appear briefly as the light shifts, then disappear again into shadow. The bench beside the wall remains close to the hearth. The warmth from the embers reaches it softly. The smooth wood reflects the glow of the fire in gentle patterns. Sometimes during the late evening someone may sit there quietly before sleep. But now the bench holds only stillness. The stool beside the hearth remains slightly tilted as always. Its shorter leg rests in the small hollow shaped by the packed earth floor. The stool has settled into this place over many years. It belongs beside the fire as naturally as the hearth itself. Along the wall, the wooden chest sits closed again. The thicker clothing taken from it earlier has already been worn for the night. Inside the chest, the remaining garments stay folded and protected. The chest stands quietly beneath the faint glow of the fire. Above it, the dried herbs continue to hang from their string. Their thin leaves are still now that the air in the room has settled. The scent they carry remains faint but steady. The herbs have slowly dried over many weeks, yet they still offer their gentle fragrance. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain rests against the wall. The cloth surface shows small folds where the grain presses outward. The sack has not moved since the last meal was prepared. It waits quietly for the next day when another portion will be taken. Beside it, the wooden bucket remains filled with water. The surface of the water reflects the glow of the embers in slow shifting shapes. Occasionally a small ripple forms when someone walks across the floor. Soon the water becomes still again. The broom remains resting against the wall where it was placed earlier. The twigs at its base spread outward from years of use. The floor beneath it stays calm and clean after the evening sweeping. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in deep shadow. The embers below give them only a faint outline. From time to time, the glow brightens, revealing the rough shapes of the wood for a moment. These beams have watched many nights pass quietly beneath them. Above the beams, the thatched roof rests under the dark sky. The straw moves slightly when the wind passes across it. The soft rustling sound drifts down through the roof and into the room below. These quiet sounds blend with the steady crackle of the fading fire. The door remains closed, keeping the warmth of the house inside. Beyond it, the village sleeps peacefully. Only distant and occasional sounds travel through the night air. Inside the house, the calm deepens. The embers glow quietly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, and chest remain still in their places. And the small medieval home rests in the soft warmth of the fading fire as the long, quiet night slowly continues. The night has grown deep and very still. Inside the small house, the fire in the hearth has quieted even further. Most of the wood has now become a bed of glowing embers. Only a faint flame appears from time to time as the coals shift beneath the ash. The warmth from the hearth remains gentle but steady. It spreads slowly across the room, touching the nearby stool and the edge of the table before fading into the darker corners. The clay pot near the hearth rests quietly now. The last of the evening meal remains inside, though the warmth has begun to fade. The wooden spoon still lies across the top of the pot, untouched since it was last used. The spoon reflects a faint orange glow from the embers. Nearby, the table stands empty in the dim light. The thick wooden surface holds the quiet marks of the day that has passed. Small scratches and worn edges appear briefly whenever the embers glow brighter. The bowls remain on the shelf along the wall. They have been cleaned and returned to their place. Their smooth wooden surfaces reflect the faint light of the hearth. The bench beside the wall remains still. The warmth from the embers reaches it softly. The wood has grown smooth from many years of quiet use, and its surface glows gently in the dim light. The stool near the hearth continues its familiar lean. Its uneven leg rests in the shallow hollow shaped in the packed earth floor. When no one sits upon it, the stool still tilts slightly toward the fire. This small tilt feels natural inside the room. Along the wall, the wooden chest rests closed once more. The thicker clothing taken earlier remains outside the chest, worn against the cool air of the night. Inside the chest, the remaining garments lie folded in the darkness. The chest itself reflects a soft shine where the embers touch its wooden surface. Above it, the dried herbs hang quietly from their string. The thin leaves are still in the calm air of the room. Their faint scent remains part of the house, mixing with the soft smell of smoke that has settled into the walls and beams. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain continues to lean against the wall. The cloth surface shows the gentle shapes of the grain inside. It has not been touched since the evening meal was prepared. The sack waits patiently for the morning when another portion will be taken. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds its water. The surface reflects the glowing embers in slow-moving patterns. Occasionally, a small ripple crosses the water when the floor shifts beneath a quiet step. The bucket soon becomes still again. The broom remains resting against the wall. The floor has already been swept for the night. Straw and dust lie in calm patterns across the packed earth where they will remain until morning. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in deep shadow. The embers below give them only a faint outline. Sometimes the glow brightens for a moment, revealing the rough texture of the wood before darkness returns again. These beams have watched many nights unfold beneath them. Above them, the thatched roof rests beneath the quiet sky. Outside, the wind moves gently across the straw. The sound is soft and steady as it drifts down through the roof. The door remains closed against the cool night air. Beyond it, the village lies silent beneath the moon and stars. Inside the house, the calm remains complete. The embers glow quietly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves remain in their familiar places. And the small medieval home rests peacefully in the deep quiet of the night, where the last gentle warmth of the hearth slowly carries the house towards sleep. The night continues quietly around the small house. Outside, the village sleeps beneath the moonlit sky. The narrow paths between the homes lie still, and the fields beyond them rest in silence. Inside the house, the darkness is soft and calm. The fire in the hearth has nearly finished its work for the day. Most of the wood has turned into glowing embers that rest beneath a thin layer of ash. From time to time, one ember brightens briefly, sending a faint orange light across the room. The warmth from the hearth is gentle now. It spreads slowly through the air but does not reach as far as it did earlier in the evening. The room feels cooler, though the quiet glow of the coals still keeps the house comfortable. The clay pot near the hearth remains where it was placed. The last portion of food inside has cooled during the quiet hours of the night. The wooden spoon still rests across the top of the pot, unmoved since it was last used. The spoon catches the faint light from the embers. Nearby, the table stands in the dim glow of the hearth. Its thick wooden boards appear darker now, though the small marks and scratches across the surface remain part of its quiet story. The table no longer holds bowls or food. It rests peacefully after the work of the day has ended. The bench beside the wall remains close to the fading warmth of the fire. Its smooth surface reflects only the faintest glow from the embers. The bench has carried many evenings of quiet conversation and rest. Now it simply waits in stillness. The stool near the hearth remains tilted slightly toward the fire. Its shorter leg presses into the shallow hollow shaped by the floor over many years. Even without anyone sitting on it, the stool leans gently in its familiar way. Along the wall, the wooden chest remains closed. The clothing that was taken earlier in the evening is now worn against the cool night air. Inside the chest, the remaining garments rest quietly in the darkness. The chest reflects a soft glow when the embers brighten for a moment. Above the chest, the dried herbs hang silently. Their thin leaves remain still in the calm air of the room. The faint scent they carry lingers gently among the wooden walls and beams. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain continues to rest against the wall. Its cloth surface shows the soft shapes of the grain inside. The sack has not moved since the evening meal was prepared. It will wait patiently until morning when the day begins again. Beside it, the wooden bucket remains filled with water. The surface of the water reflects the dim glow of the embers in quiet patterns. Occasionally, a faint ripple moves across it when the floor shifts beneath a step. Soon the water becomes still again. The broom remains leaning against the wall where it has rested since the evening sweeping. Its twigs spread outward slightly at the bottom. The floor beneath it remains calm and tidy after the quiet work of cleaning. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in deep shadow. The fading glow of the embers reveals only the rough outlines of the wood. The marks left by the tools that shaped the beams long ago remain hidden in the darkness. Above them, the thick thatched roof rests beneath the cool night sky. The straw moves gently when the wind passes across it. The sound is soft and distant, drifting down into the quiet house below. The door remains closed against the night. Beyond it, the village remains peaceful and still. Only the faintest sounds travel through the darkness. Perhaps the distant call of an animal or the quiet movement of the wind across the fields. Inside the house, the calm continues without interruption. The embers glow softly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves remain where they have always been. And the small medieval home rests in the deep quiet of the night, where the last warmth of the hearth slowly fades as the hours pass toward morning. The night moves forward quietly around the small house. Outside, the moon has traveled higher across the dark sky. Its pale light rests gently over the village roofs and the empty road that winds between the homes. Inside the house, the room remains calm and dim. The fire in the hearth has grown quieter with each passing hour. Most of the embers have softened into a deeper red glow beneath the pale ash. From time to time, a small shift in the coals sends a brief flicker of light across the floor. The warmth from the hearth still lingers in the air. It is not strong now, but it remains enough to keep the room comfortable while the cool night settles outside the walls. The clay pot beside the hearth remains untouched. The small portion of food left inside has cooled further. The wooden spoon still lies across the top of the pot, resting exactly where it was placed earlier in the evening. Its surface reflects a faint red glow from the embers. Nearby, the table stands quietly in the dim light. The thick wooden boards appear darker than they did during the day. Only the edges of the surface catch the faint glow of the fire. The small marks carved into the wood by years of work remain hidden in the shadows. The table waits silently for the morning when it will again hold bowls and food. The bench beside the wall remains still. Its surface reflects only the softest hint of the fading firelight. The bench has carried many quiet evenings like this one. Now it rests in the calm darkness of the room. The stool near the hearth continues its slight tilt. Its uneven leg remains pressed into the shallow hollow formed in the packed earth floor. The stool leans gently toward the hearth even when no one sits upon it. It has become part of the quiet shape of the room. Along the wall, the wooden chest remains closed. Its thick boards hold the clothing and small belongings stored safely inside. The chest catches the faintest glow from the embers when the coals brighten briefly. Above it, the dried herbs hang in still silence. Their thin leaves no longer move now that the air inside the house has grown completely calm. The herbs continue to release their faint scent into the room. The smell mixes with the quiet trace of wood smoke that lives in the walls and beams. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain rests where it has always been. The cloth surface forms gentle folds around the grain inside. The knot at the top remains tied tightly. The sack will remain untouched until the next morning meal begins. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds water. The surface of the water reflects the soft glow of the embers in slow-moving shapes. Occasionally, a faint ripple forms when the floor shifts slightly beneath a quiet step. Soon the water becomes still again. The broom remains leaning against the wall. Its twigs spread outward where they rest against the packed earth floor. The sweeping done earlier in the evening has left the room tidy and calm. Above the room, the dark beams stretch quietly across the ceiling. Only the faintest outline of their shape can be seen in the dim glow of the hearth. The rough grain of the wood remains hidden in shadow. Above them, the thatched roof rests beneath the cool night sky. The wind moves gently across the straw outside, producing a soft rustling sound that drifts faintly into the room below. These sounds blend with the quiet crackle of the fading embers. The door remains closed against the night air. Beyond it, the village remains silent beneath the moon. Inside the house, the calm remains deep and steady. The embers glow quietly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves remain where they have always stood. And the small medieval home continues resting in the quiet darkness, where the fading warmth of the hearth slowly carries the long night toward the first hint of morning. The night has grown very late now. Inside the small house, the hearth glows with only a few remaining embers. Their light is faint, but they still hold a quiet warmth that rests gently in the room. The air inside the house has cooled slightly as the fire settles lower. The embers shift slowly beneath their layer of ash. Now and then one brightens for a brief moment before fading again. The clay pot near the hearth remains where it was placed earlier. The food left inside has long since cooled. The wooden spoon still rests across the top, unmoved since the evening meal ended. Its smooth surface reflects the dim glow of the coals. Nearby, the table stands quietly in the darkness. Without the bright firelight of earlier hours, the wooden boards appear deep and shadowed. Only the faintest edge of light reaches across the surface. The marks and scratches that filled the table during the day are hidden now. The table waits peacefully for the next morning when it will once again hold the tasks of daily life. The bench beside the wall rests in the cool quiet of the room. Its smooth wood no longer reflects the warmth of strong firelight. Instead, it sits in soft shadow, unchanged and steady. The bench has watched many nights like this one. The stool beside the hearth remains tilted toward the fading glow. Its uneven leg rests firmly in the small hollow formed by the packed earth floor. The stool leans gently, as though keeping watch beside the fire. Along the wall, the wooden chest stands closed. Inside it, folded clothing rests quietly in the darkness. The garments taken earlier in the evening remain outside the chest, worn against the cool night air. The chest reflects a faint shine when the embers brighten for a moment. Above it, the dried herbs still hang from their string. The leaves remain still in the calm air of the house. Their gentle scent lingers faintly in the room. It blends with the quiet smell of smoke that has settled into the wood of the house over many seasons. Near the corner of the room, The sack of grain remains untouched. The cloth surface shows the steady shape of the grain inside. The knot at the top remains tied carefully. The sack waits patiently for the next day when another handful will be taken for the morning meal. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds its water. The surface is calm and dark now, reflecting only the faint glow of the embers when they brighten briefly. Soon even that small reflection fades into darkness. The broom continues to lean quietly against the wall. The floor beneath it remains tidy from the sweeping done earlier in the evening. Straw lies scattered across the packed earth in soft patterns that will remain until morning. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in near darkness. Only their faint outlines can be seen in the dim glow of the hearth. The marks left by the tools that shaped them long ago remain hidden for now. Above them, the thatched roof rests beneath the quiet sky. Outside, the wind moves gently across the straw, creating a soft rustling sound that drifts down through the house. These sounds blend with the quiet breathing of the room. The door remains closed, holding the warmth of the house inside. Beyond it, the village sleeps beneath the fading moon. Inside the house, everything remains calm and still. The embers glow faintly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves remain in their familiar places. And the small medieval home rests peacefully in the deepest hours of the night, where the last quiet warmth of the hearth slowly fades as the long night begins to move toward morning. The final hours of the night rest quietly over the village. Outside, the moon has begun its slow journey downward across the sky. The fields and narrow paths remain still beneath the dim silver light. Most of the village sleeps deeply now, wrapped in the cool calm of the late night. Inside the small medieval house, the room is almost entirely dark. Only the faint glow of the hearth remains. The fire that burned steadily through the evening has nearly finished its work. The wood has long since turned into a bed of dim embers beneath a soft layer of ash. Every so often, a coal glows a little brighter. For a brief moment, a small red light touches the nearby floor before fading again into shadow. The warmth from the hearth still lingers gently in the room. It is no longer strong, but it remains enough to keep the house from growing cold. The walls and beams hold the quiet memory of the fire that warmed them earlier. The clay pot rests beside the hearth. It has not moved since the meal ended many hours ago. The small amount of food left inside has cooled completely now. The wooden spoon still lies across the pot. The spoon has done its work for the day and now rests peacefully in the dim light. Nearby, the table stands in deep shadow. During the day, it held bowls, tools, and small tasks. Now it simply waits for the quiet hours of night to pass. The thick wooden boards are barely visible in the darkness. Only the faintest outline appears when an ember brightens briefly. The bench along the wall remains still. Earlier in the evening, it carried the quiet weight of those resting beside the fire. Now it holds only the calm silence of the sleeping house. Its smooth wooden surface rests in shadow. The stool beside the hearth continues its familiar lean. Its uneven leg presses into the shallow hollow in the packed earth floor. Even without movement, the stool tilts slightly toward the hearth as though keeping quiet watch beside the fading embers. Along the wall, the wooden chest remains closed. Inside, folded clothing rests safely in the darkness. The garments taken earlier remain outside the chest, worn through the night against the cool air. The chest itself reflects only the faintest glow when the embers shift. Above it, the dried herbs hang quietly from their string. The thin leaves remain still in the calm air. Their scent remains soft and gentle within the house. This scent has lingered in the room for many months, becoming part of the quiet character of the home. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain rests untouched. The cloth surface shows the soft shapes of the grain within. The knot at the top remains tied carefully. The sack waits patiently for the morning when another portion will be taken for the day's first meal. Beside it, the wooden bucket remains filled with water. The surface of the water is dark and still. Only the faintest glow from the embers moves across it from time to time. Soon even that faint reflection fades. The broom continues to lean against the wall. Its twigs rest quietly against the packed earth floor. The sweeping done earlier has left the room calm and orderly. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in darkness. The glow of the embers is too faint to reveal their rough surfaces clearly now. Yet they remain strong and silent, holding the roof above just as they have for many years. Above them, the thick thatched roof rests beneath the quiet sky. Outside, the wind moves gently across the straw, producing a soft rustling sound that drifts down through the house. These sounds are small and steady. They blend easily with the stillness of the late night. The door remains closed, holding the warmth of the house within its wooden boards. Beyond it, the village continues to sleep beneath the fading moon. Inside the house, the calm is complete. The embers glow faintly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves remain in their familiar places. And the small medieval home rests peacefully in the final quiet hours of the night, where the last warmth of the hearth gently holds the room as the long darkness slowly begins to drift toward morning. The night has grown very quiet in the small house. Outside, the moon now hangs lower above the fields. The sky remains dark, though the deep stillness of the late night carries a faint sense that morning will eventually come. Inside the house, the room remains calm and nearly silent. The hearth still holds a few fading embers. Their glow is softer now, appearing only as dim red shapes beneath the pale ash. Occasionally, one ember brightens for a moment. A faint red light touches the nearby floor before fading again into the surrounding darkness. The warmth from the hearth is gentle but fading. The air inside the house has cooled slightly, though the walls and beams still carry the quiet memory of the fire that warmed them earlier. The clay pot remains beside the hearth. It has not moved since the meal ended many hours ago. The food left inside has long since cooled. The wooden spoon still rests across the top of the pot. Its smooth surface reflects a faint hint of red light when the embers glow briefly. Nearby, the table stands quietly in the dim room. During the long day, it held food, tools, and quiet work. Now it simply rests in the darkness. The thick boards of the table are barely visible. Only the edges appear when the fading glow of the hearth shifts slightly. The bench along the wall remains still. Its smooth wooden surface no longer reflects any warmth from the fire. Instead, it sits quietly in shadow, unchanged and steady. The bench has watched countless evenings pass in this same quiet way. The stool beside the hearth continues its slight lean. Its uneven leg rests in the small hollow formed by the packed earth floor over many years. Even without anyone sitting upon it, the stool tilts gently toward the hearth. It remains close to the fading warmth of the embers. Along the wall, the wooden chest remains closed. Inside, folded clothing rests safely in the darkness. The garments taken earlier remain outside the chest, worn through the night against the cool air. The chest catches the faintest glow whenever the embers brighten for a moment. Above it, the dried herbs hang quietly from their string. The leaves remain still in the calm air of the room. Their gentle scent lingers faintly among the wooden walls and beams. This scent has become part of the house itself. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain rests against the wall. The cloth surface shows the quiet shape of the grain inside. The knot at the top remains tied firmly. The sack waits patiently for the morning when another handful will be taken. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds water drawn earlier in the day. The surface of the water is calm and dark now. When an ember brightens, a faint reflection moves across the water before fading again. Soon the bucket becomes completely still once more. The broom continues to lean against the wall where it has rested since the evening sweeping. The floor beneath it remains calm and tidy. Straw lies scattered gently across the packed earth. Above the room, the beams stretch across the ceiling in deep shadow. Only their faint outlines can be seen in the dim glow of the hearth. The rough grain of the wood remains hidden in darkness. Above them, the thick thatched roof rests beneath the quiet sky. Outside, a gentle wind moves across the straw. The sound is soft and distant as it drifts down through the house. These quiet sounds blend with the steady silence of the night. The door remains closed, keeping the cool night air outside. Beyond it, the village rests peacefully beneath the fading moon. Inside the house, the calm remains deep and steady. The embers glow faintly in the hearth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves remain in their familiar places. And the small medieval home continues to rest quietly in the final stretch of the night, where the fading warmth of the hearth holds the room gently as the first distant hint of morning slowly approaches. The night has nearly finished its long quiet watch. Inside the small house, the hearth now holds only the faintest glow. The embers that once burned bright have faded into soft gray shapes beneath the ash. Only now and then does a small red light appear. For a brief moment the coal glows gently, touching the nearby floor with a faint warmth before fading again. The room is calm and still. The warmth that filled the house earlier in the evening now rests softly in the walls and beams. The air is cool, but not uncomfortable. The clay pot remains beside the hearth exactly where it was left. The meal prepared the evening before has long since cooled. The wooden spoon still lies across the top of the pot, unmoved through the quiet hours of the night. Nearby, the table stands patiently in the dim room. The thick boards have rested through the long night without movement. The marks and scratches that filled its surface during the day remain hidden in shadow. Soon the table will welcome another day of simple work and meals. But for now it rests. The bench along the wall remains calm and quiet. Its smooth wooden surface holds no firelight now, only the gentle darkness of the room. The bench has carried many quiet evenings and many peaceful nights. The stool beside the hearth remains leaning slightly toward the fading warmth. Its uneven leg presses into the small hollow formed in the packed earth floor. The stool has rested in this same place beside the hearth for many seasons. Along the wall, the wooden chest remains closed. Inside, folded clothing rests quietly in the darkness. The garments taken earlier remain worn against the cool air of the night. The chest reflects no light now as the embers fade further. Above it, the dried herbs hang silently from their string. The leaves remain perfectly still in the calm air. Their faint scent lingers quietly within the room. This gentle fragrance has become part of the house over many seasons. Near the corner of the room, the sack of grain continues to rest against the wall. The cloth surface forms soft folds around the grain inside. The knot at the top remains tied carefully. The sack waits patiently for the morning when the household will once again begin preparing food. Beside it, the wooden bucket still holds water. The surface of the water is dark and calm. The glow of the embers no longer reaches it. The bucket rests quietly beside the wall. The broom continues to lean where it has stood since the evening sweeping. The packed earth floor beneath it remains calm and tidy. Straw lies scattered softly across the ground. Above the room, the wooden beams stretch across the ceiling in quiet darkness. They have held the roof through the long night just as they have through many nights before. Above them, the thatched roof rests beneath the fading night sky. Outside, the wind moves lightly across the straw. The sound is soft and distant. Beyond the closed door, the village sleeps beneath the final hours of darkness. Yet the night is slowly beginning to change. Far beyond the fields, the first faint hint of morning approaches. The sky will soon begin to lighten, and the quiet village will slowly wake once again. Inside the small medieval house, everything remains still for a moment longer. The hearth holds only a memory of warmth. The table, bench, stool, chest, and shelves rest quietly in their familiar places. And the house itself seems to breathe softly in the silence, holding the peaceful comfort of another ordinary day that has passed, while gently waiting for the quiet arrival of morning.